There is a question the ancient Stoics asked themselves every morning. Not what do I want to achieve today, not how will I be remembered, but simply this: what is in my control and what is not? That question, asked sincerely, changes everything. Most of us spend enormous amounts of energy on things we cannot control. The outcome of a job interview, what someone thinks of us, whether a relationship survives, whether the economy turns, whether our health holds. We worry, we plan, we replay, we prepare for every possible scenario, and then we worry some more. And at the end of all that worry, the outcome is rarely what we feared. Or if it is, the worry did nothing to prevent it. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius put it plainly: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But knowing this and actually living by it are two completely different things. Today, we are going to look at the single most practical idea in Stoic philosophy, the dichotomy of control, and why understanding it might be the closest thing to an anxiety cure that ancient wisdom has to offer. Epictetus was a slave. Born into bondage in ancient Rome, he owned nothing. He controlled nothing. His master, a man named Epaphroditus, could and reportedly did physically harm him on a whim. And yet Epictetus became one of the most influential philosophers in Western history. His insight was this: his master could break his body, but he could not break his will. He could not touch Epictetus's judgments, his values, his response to suffering. From this lived experience, not from a comfortable study, came the central teaching of his philosophy. Some things are in our control and others are not. This is the opening line of the Enchiridion, his handbook for life. Things in our control, he said, are our opinions, our impulses, our desires, our aversions, in short, our inner life. Things not in our control: our body, our reputation, our property, our position, everything external. This is the dichotomy, the two-part division of control. And the Stoic practice is simply this: orient your energy toward the first category. Accept the second with equanimity. It sounds simple. It is not easy. Anxiety at its core is a misallocation of attention. We are anxious about outcomes, whether we will get the job, whether they will call back, whether the diagnosis will be bad. And outcomes are precisely what Epictetus placed in the not in our control column. Not because outcomes don't matter, they do, but because spending mental energy attempting to control them is, quite literally, a waste of your most precious resource: attention. The Stoic reframe is not don't care about outcomes. It's redirect your care toward what produces outcomes: your preparation, your effort, your response. You cannot control whether you get the job. You can control how thoroughly you prepared, how honestly you answered, how calmly you presented yourself. The Stoics called the act of focusing only on what is within reach, taking the reserved action. You do your part, fully and earnestly, and then release attachment to the result. Here is a thought experiment. Imagine you are standing in a rainstorm. You did not cause the rain. You cannot stop it. You can be furious about it. And many people are furious about much worse things they did not cause and cannot stop. Or you can do the one thing that actually helps: put on a coat. The rain is indifferent to your fury. This seems obvious. And yet we spend enormous psychological resources being furious at traffic, at other people's opinions of us, at the behavior of politicians, at the state of the economy. None of these are improved by our fury. All of them are worsened by it, because fury drains the very energy we need to respond effectively. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle is not the enemy of your progress. Your reaction to the obstacle is where progress either begins or ends. Here is the paradox that Epictetus, the slave, understood better than most free men. The person who is constantly trying to control external events is the least free person in the room. They are hostage to every outcome. Every piece of bad news is a catastrophe. Every rejection is a judgment on their worth. Every delay is an injustice. The person who has mastered the dichotomy of control, who has genuinely released their grip on the uncontrollable, is free in a way that wealth, status, and security can never provide, because their peace is not dependent on circumstances. It is self-generated. Epictetus, in chains, was freer than the senator who feared his emperor's opinion. That is not a poetic metaphor. That was his actual life. So how does one actually practice this? The Stoics were not theorists. They were practitioners, and they had a specific method. At the start of each day, or before any significant undertaking, ask two questions. First, what is the outcome I am hoping for? Second, what part of that outcome is genuinely within my control? Then, and this is the crucial part, invest all your energy in the second answer and consciously, deliberately let go of the first. This is not passivity. It is precision. You are not doing less. You are doing the right things without the enormous overhead of anxiety about results. Ryan Holiday, the modern Stoic writer, calls this the art of not hoping, not in the sense of pessimism, but in the sense of not outsourcing your peace of mind to an outcome you can't guarantee. So, practically, what might this change in your life this week? Perhaps you have a difficult conversation you have been dreading. The Stoic asks, what part of that conversation is in your control? Your honesty, your composure, your preparation, your willingness to listen, not their reaction, not whether it goes the way you want. Perhaps you are anxious about your career, your finances, your relationships. The Stoic exercise is not to stop caring, but to carefully separate the part you can act on from the part you cannot. Then act fully on the first, and practice releasing the second. It will not happen overnight. Epictetus himself said this is the work of a lifetime. But even a single week of consciously asking, is this in my control? Before reacting to the world can produce a noticeable quieting of the noise inside your head. Not because your problems have been solved, but because you have stopped adding the problem of anxiety to the problems that already exist. The ancient Stoics did not promise that the practice of the dichotomy of control would make your life easier. They promised something better. They promised it would make you more capable of bearing the life you have, with something approaching grace. Not because the storm passes, but because you finally stop fighting the rain. Until next time, be sovereign.